just finished doing an incredible collaboration with my dear, dear friend Miguel Mendonca, and he's here with me, and we're going to just chat a little bit about the vision behind that, the inspiration, and the work that we're doing creating this collaboration, and Miguel's incredible art through his music, and of course, the many things that he has done. Many of you might know Miguel from Meet the Hybrids and many other books, including Wisdom. And so, Miguel, welcome.
Thank you. It is my pleasure to be with you today.
Yes, likewise. So, Miguel, you were writing an article and you were doing a little research about hybrids and contact, which is incredible. And you created an article about that, and we'll post a link to that below so that we can also share that. But you also were inspired to create a collaboration with the musical aspect, combining this art and your music that you create. And can you tell us a little bit about your work and in your music field? What do you do?
Yeah, well, anyone who listens to the track will immediately recognize, certainly anyone of age, that I'm a child of the 80s, and synth pop was pretty enormous on everyone's radar. And my first love was hip hop when it was sort of just hitting Britain in the early to mid 80s. So hip hop and electro, all of that stuff. And then you had amazing bands left, right, and center from Germany, from the UK, the US, etc., that were doing amazing stuff with electronic music of all kinds. And then there was Jean-Michel Jarre, people like that thrown in the mix. And then, of course, later on, there was the whole rave scene, and that's just mad melting pot of different musical technologies and styles and ideas, and people were suddenly traveling the world and bringing back samples from all over the place and experimenting with different kinds of instrumentation and microtonal scales and all these kinds of things. So I have been part of sort of successive waves of just musical explosions in terms of the ideas and the techniques and technologies. But electronic music has just been a persistent love in my life. And doing the work that I've done in the last decade, more or less, doing books on all kinds of cosmic stuff, electronic music and that just are hand in glove. I mean, they're made for one another. When you look at the if you look at the image behind me, that was an image I picked out for the cover for my latest album, Into Galactic, which is essentially about me basically leaving planet Earth and heading off among the stars for fresh adventures. And so that was a lot of fun and quite effective therapy, I would say. And I think that as an artist, I would think any artist on the planet could speak to the healing qualities of art. And so the work that I'm doing now with a series of collaborations with all kinds of different artists is just about fun at its core, but it's also about inspiring more people to share their art, because I just think that the world is a better place with more art in it. I think we're all healthier when we're making art and when we're sharing it, especially if we can manage to do it without judgment, which on planet Earth, as we know, is, not the easiest thing. It's sort of somehow inbuilt into humans to judge things, and almost every wisdom tradition that I've ever stumbled across teaches that part of the road to health and salvation and peace is, and to wisdom, is to set aside judgment. So to me, it's all about having fun in a lot of ways. If you can just have fun with it, I think you're on the right track. If you're not judging your own work and you're not judging that of other people, you can just accept it. Here's what it is. And we know that art is one of the most powerful stimulants in terms of memory. The way that it can take us to a time and a place, a person, a relationship, a moment, in the way that smells can and food does. There are certain things that bind somehow with our memories. And so when I make this music, when I listen to it back, I can hear and I can remember all the moments in life where I think, oh, I know where I got that from. And I know what I was doing when I heard it. And we could be talking about 1982. We could be talking about 1979. So I feel like art and creativity, I mean, my last book was on that topic. That's all it was on. And I interviewed a couple of dozen highly accomplished artists and makers from around the world, working in many, many different art forms. And there's a lot of lessons came out of it. The healing aspects of art was a big one. Part of it was also about how we develop the courage to do it and maintain that courage in the face of all the things that may go against us. And it can be criticism, it can be a lack of opportunity, it can be just things not working, it can be technological failings, it can be technical failings in our art, but there's also many, many stories from all of these artists, and there's Oscar winners and Grammy winners and people in there. So these are people at the top of their fields. And there was a lot of experience talking when they share their advice on how you can change it up if you hit creative blocks, if you develop that self-doubt, and how you can overcome it, the kinds of things that people do very successfully to get back on track or to move in new directions. And looping back around to Geraldine and I find that when I imbibe the art of other people, that it changes things internally for me. And that's kind of the point, that when we create something, we're putting us into it, but also all the influences that we have ever experienced. And so there's a lot of levels in the things that we create. And each creation is therefore going to have often, but not necessarily, quite a complex impact on people. And so when I saw Geraldine's paintings, it flipped some switch. It's like it sent me along a different track. And if you hit my YouTube channel and you hear the stuff I was doing prior to that, you'll hear a lot of it is kind of down tempo, pretty chill, ambient, but the energy, and I would say the energetic levels and layers in Geraldine's art, I think just hit all these different points in me. And I just felt this just energetic surge, and the music unavoidably followed.
That is so incredible. And I think one of the favorite things about art is, and I love how you explained, the process of coming over the creative blocks and coming to a place of creativity. I mean, in order to nurture creativity, there are several things that have to come into place in ourselves. And I think it's very much a spiritual, at least for me, it's very much a spiritual process as well. And it kind of is mimicking our life experience as well. We become more creative when we come into a state of non-judgment. And that's kind of the process for the art as well. When I create these pieces, there have been, sometimes they are emotional processes where I have to stop judging or thinking about the end result. And that's actually when things flow and express themselves in a way that's even more creative, more expansive, the colors, the mixtures, the patterns. So I really love the music that you put together, that you created for these pieces. And I really invite everyone to, take a moment and just notice kind of like the evolution as you listen to the piece and see the pieces, what it makes you feel. A lot of this artwork is inspired. I'm enamored by microscopic pictures of like mega microscopes that go down to like these like small structures of things. And what I notice is that these patterns are very similar to the structures of our universe and the world, and the way that energy moves through, even how cities are constructed and the way that the patterns of cities are put together, or mountains and rivers and in nature, and then in the physical body, how we seem to have these self-similar patterns within the body, outside the body, and then in the greater universe. So I'm quite fascinated by that, and so this art is kind of an expression of that. And so I love that it is causing and inspiring this energetic stimulation for you. It is very much vibrational frequency. To me, it's like a light language. I feel the message coming in to want to paint. It's a very strong feeling, and I have to let it out, and I have to put it out on the canvas. And once it's out on the canvas, it's like it's done what it needs to do, and then I just let it go out into the world and see how it affects people. But yeah, this is interesting. This is the first time that I'm sharing my art in this way. So it's an honor, to collaborate with you and to work with you on something like this.
It's exciting. I have met many people in the course of my work who have kind of come out in terms of, some aspect of themselves that they had not really shared or talked about before. And, I feel like there is so much value in just making a safe space, just giving people some simple encouragement and saying, maybe this thing that you're, I don't know, kind of keeping under your hat, or you're not sure how people will receive it or whatever. I feel like at the end of the day, we can't take anything with us. And the things that we share, my old boss, Herbie, said something that always stayed with me. When I put out my first book, it's all I ever wanted to do was be an author. And I finally put out my first book in 2007, and it was on renewable energy policy, which had very little to do with the things that interested me as a young guy, when I was just obsessed with the beat writers in particular, as well as people like Bukowski and Miller, people who just threw themselves at life and just lived these crazy, wild lives and shared all of it. That's where I thought I was going, or hoped that I would have the talent to do it and the balls to do it, because what these people put on paper, it's unreal to me how deep they went into themselves. But what Herbie said that's so important, I think, for us all to recognize, is that we can never know the effect our work will have. We don't know where it's going to end up in the world. We don't know who is going to encounter it. We don't know what it will mean for them and to them. We don't know how they will feel or what will happen because they encountered it, because they encountered our images or sounds or our ideas, perspectives. We just don't know. But I think that especially if we do it with love and kindness and benevolence, I think that we have a reasonable shot at making the world a better place by doing so.
Absolutely, Miguel. Well, it's amazing. And so what do you have coming up next? I know that you are working with some other artists as well. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? What are you working on?
Well, I am very, very excited, because the one that I'm putting together for the rest of this week is with one of the world's top tattoo artists. And
Wow.
for now, that's all I'll say. I'll keep the rest under wraps, but this is someone I know, someone whose work just comprehensively blows me away. It's just outstanding. I mean, it's crazy to me, even though I have a bunch of tattoos, it's crazy to me still when I look at their work that it is a needle and ink and human flesh.
Yeah, that's incredible. Wow.
Astounding. But this is the thing, humans, our creativity is boundless. There's almost, I mean, you know, I go out there and I look for people doing interesting art and working with different materials. I talked to a guy yesterday who, I won't say who he is because there was no, you know, there's no permission to do so, but he's a guy who learns, you know, he has a reasonable scientific background, it seems, and he's able to synthesize his own DMT. He's able to not synthesize, he's able to make his own DMT from tree bark. And what is left over is this kind of clay material. And he was throwing this out, you know, in the process. And then, you know, he said, I started to feel a bit dirty doing this. Like there was, I felt the value. I guess I'm putting words in his mouth, but I guess he felt the value of this and the importance of this material in his life, in his processes. And he's a sculptor, an artist. And so he's begun making sculptures out of this byproduct of creating his own DMT.
Oh my God.
So that's the thing. I just don't think people ever run out of ideas artistically and creatively.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're here. I mean, we're creative beings. I think that art allows us to come close to that aspect of the human, that they have infinite potential, you know, infinite potential. We're just working and we become channels to infinite potential. And how it's expressed is needed. Everyone's art is needed because it's a very unique signature of the individual with all of their life experiences, their perspectives, their ideas. So I think in this way, art becomes kind of a language. It's a universal language in which we're discovering each other and we're learning about how we can go beyond the limits of things. Right when we think that we've reached the limit of ultimate creativity in the world, people come up with something new and change and pull us forward. I think it has a lot to do with also advancement in technology, advancement in many things in our society that pull us forward into the future. So yeah, it's a privilege to be able to connect and to create an environment in which we can harness creativity. And I think people should spend time, you know, creating as much as they can. I think it's very healthy. It's healthy for the body to express, whether it's with your singing, whether it's with your music, whether painting, whatever it is that you're doing. Allow that life force and the way that the body, the entire energetic body, has to realign in order for that surrender process is incredibly enhancing for your energetic field. It's incredibly healing for your whole organism. So whatever it is that you're doing, you know, take time to do it. I think that it's part of a therapeutic aspect of human that needs to be nourished. So yeah, it was amazing. Miguel, thank you so much for joining me today and talking about this. And we can't wait to see the rest of the work that you're going to be doing. And I will put all the links down below to your YouTube channel so that people can go and watch the video. Thank you so much.